Are you sick of those fly-by-night, fast-talking performance agencies that are all talk and no action? They're promising ROAS you could only dream of and delivering nightmares. Look, I might be being dramatic, but I think we've all had that experience. Introducing Add to Cart's performance advertising partner for 2024, Farsight. And that's Farsight with two I's, Farsight. Farsight are in it for the long term with a genuine focus on relationships. I know, shocking, right? And as the saying goes, you are the company you keep. And Farsight work with some of the most genuine and high growth businesses in Australia. I'm talking Trademark, Black Milk, Nobby. If you want a performance agency who actually care and can deliver on their promises, make sure you check out the Farsight team at Farsight, that's Farsight with two I's, Farsight.com.
Welcome to The Checkout. We catch up with previous Add to Cart guests and ask them 5 quick questions to get to know them better and leave you with a little extra inspiration to get through your Friday. Here's your host, Bushy.
Today's Checkout features Natalie McDermott from Kelly+Partners Accountants, an ASX-listed company with branches in Australia and expanding globally. Nat is a partner at the Northern Beaches branch in Sydney, working with around 50 e-commerce brands with turnover ranging from $50,000 to $50 million. She joined us on the podcast to help us make sense of the financial numbers behind an e-commerce business. Nat, welcome to The Checkout. We had a great conversation in our main episode where you gave us so many tips for business owners around accounting and making business decisions based on real numbers. So thank you very much for that. But we're here to learn a little bit more about you. So I've got 5 quick questions.
Amazing. Let's go.
Number 1, what's the weirdest thing that you've ever bought online?
I buy so much online. None of it's weird because I buy resourcefully. But I do have a funny story. This wasn't something that I bought. It was obviously something that someone else had bought that had landed on my front porch. I was working from home. It was the middle of COVID and I could hear something vibrating. And I was like, and the postman had come maybe 10, 15 minutes prior. And so, after a while, I started hearing this vibrating and I've gone out to see what it is. And there's literally a vibrating package on my porch. And it was someone that I knew that had purposely sent it to my house to be discreet because it was a present for their other half. And I messaged that person and said, hey, your vibrating package has rocked up on my house. And what's going on? What do you want me to open it and turn it off? And they were like, no, please don't open it. So I had to shove it under a mattress so that I didn't have to listen to it for the rest of the time. So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then it'll be out of battery by the time it gets to them.
Pretty much, but that's on them. That is on them.
All right, number 2, which retailer has most inspired you recently?
It's one of my clients, 2 girls who I love. They did run a sunglasses brand, which I also was a long-term customer of, loved the brand and was so happy when they became clients of mine. They fit that kind of brief, that criteria that I mentioned before, super responsive, super on the ball, just really wanting to do well, really wanting to build this amazing brand and, build some wealth and do great things basically. And they were so good and they didn't know it. And I think that's what makes them even more special. And, they weren't even looking to sell, but they got approached by a buyer and it was only a 3 or 4 year old brand that only really worked in it full time for a couple of years and, sold it for more than most brands will sell their e-commerce business for, just because they'd done so well from a branding perspective. And they really did inspire me. And they've actually inspired so many other business owners around the beaches because they are Northern Beaches based. So they've kind of set the tone and I respect them for that.
That's very cool. Was it a hard decision for them to sell?
No, not for the price that they got for it.
Well done to everyone involved. How good is that? All right, number 3, name a piece of tech that you or your e-commerce business or the e-commerce businesses that you help couldn't live without.
A2X. So this is coming from an accounting data getting your accounting data right point of view. So slightly biased there. I'm sure there's so many, I know that there's so many other amazing tech softwares and things out there, but from trying to get your accounting data as correct as possible, highly recommend A2X.
And does A2X, I don't know anything about it, does it sit on top of other accounting systems, or is it the accounting system by itself?
No, it's just an add-on.
Just an add-on. Okay.
Yeah, it's an add-on. Yeah. Basically what it does is it will make sure that your sales are broken down by channel. So you do a bit of a setup, maybe takes like an hour or so to do the setup. But once you've done the setup stuff, it basically will profile all your sales in the right categories. It'll make sure that your GST has been accounted for correctly. It'll just do things quite automatically. So we love automation, especially when it comes to cleaning up our accounting data.
That's a brilliant tip. Thank you.
Yeah.
Number 4, can you recommend a book or a podcast that our listeners should immediately get into?
Yes, I'm a massive Stephen Bartlett fan. So I recently went to see him. I listened to his podcast religiously and I read his book. I think his book is amazing.
I think you can see it on the shelf behind me, the second book in.
Yeah. I love all the stories and the examples that he uses, like the real life examples of that support his ideas of what he's trying to kind of communicate. So I thought there was a lot of lessons in that are useful in both business and life.
Spot on. And I know he's a listener of the show, so shout out.
Hey, love you.
Number 5.
Oh, maybe this one. You never know.
I'll tag him on LinkedIn. I'm sure he'll tune in. All right, number 5. What is your biggest challenge today?
For us as a business, so Kelly+Partners as a business, we're obviously a people's business. So probably our biggest challenge would be finding the right people that think like us and that are up for, being challenged. And I'm sure that's the same for most businesses, people. They're really hard to find. So that's probably our biggest challenge, yeah.
Beautiful. Nat, thank you so much for joining us on the checkout. Loved hearing all about your journey with Kelly+Partners and how you guys are doing things a little bit differently for e-commerce owners.
Thank you for having us. So much fun.
To hear more from Nat, jump back into episode 426, where Nat shares what an e-commerce business baseline gross profit margin should be and why it is the most important metric you will track. She also shares the non-financial KPIs you need to be paying attention to and how much you should be spending on marketing as a percentage of your total revenue.
Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep adding to cart.